Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lore of Neverwinter. We are going to talk about the Echoes of Prophecy campaign, which is a event-type campaign that the Neverwinter MMO is providing, and this is to reflect the tyranny of the release of the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons book that has come out. So there are two versions of the book. One has the super cool art that you see on the right side. That's the one that I've bought first, and maybe eventually I'll also get the one on the left because I do love collecting. That is also incredible art. Oh my goodness, two really incredible posters capturing the idea of the good and evil dragons fighting, going back into the myth and lore of dragonkind. This book is pretty awesome because it does actually show those differences with lore between 5th edition and previous editions of the D&D game. And when Neverwinter is creating content, they often look to the latest books to see what kind of inspiration they can pull in. In this case, they're also pulling from the Tyranny of Dragons content, which came up as we talked about in our last stream. It ties into all kinds of old products like the Cult of the Dragon, but it also has to deal with the 5th edition books, Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat. So all of those, and of course always the Neverwinter campaign setting, come together to influence how this game works. So what we're going to do is just jump in and do what all my other characters have basically already done, which is this new Echoes of Prophecy campaign. And this campaign has set up several milestones. This one is about to end pretty soon, so it's good to capture it on a stream before it maybe vanishes. It'll probably still be around for a bit, but you never know. Sometimes things leave the game, as I've covered in the past. So it's nice to have them and just be able to go back to this if we ever need to in terms of lore. So we'll load up here in Protector's Enclave, which it's currently the day before Halloween. And so you'll see this is all Halloween themed once we, if and when we load into Protector's Enclave. Protector's Enclave is the center of, well, it's not the center geographically, but it's the part of the city that is the center of politics in Neverwinter. And you can see in this image here, the Hall of Justice, which is at the back. And that is where, which we see back here barely in the light, that is where the government is run from and Lord Neverember is. So this is often decorated for different events. So this is the Halloween decorations that are taking place. You can see there's like a beholder there and the sort of demon mask. We can see it's nighttime. We get to see the Tears of Saloon there and all the kind of neat different aspects of the of the city of Neverwinter. So this campaign, we can see we have a special tab for it, and there'll be 3 parts to it. But the first one's called A Tear in the Weave, and you can go through and do progress across all your accounts. I've already done it, and you get different cool prizes for doing it, and that's neat. But I've already maxed it out as we help Elminster. But we're going to go through it in this first part with a character just for the fun of it, to see what it's like and talk about the lore aspects, which is always something I enjoy doing. So we start by talking to Sergeant Knox.
It's good to see you again. Your presence has been requested by Elminster. He said he has a special project for you.
So Elminster wants to talk to us, and we go off to the side here. And again, it is Halloween, so you can see like you can trade for treats. And receive little bags of goods and things like that. And there's a contest of which disguise will win, and that team will win it. So there are all kinds of stuff going on currently, in addition to this Echoes of Prophecy. But it takes us to this area where we're going to talk to Elminster. And Elminster is worth noting. He is on one hand, a powerful wizard and sage, but he's more than that. He's not just an archmage. He's not just like maybe the most powerful wizard there is. He actually has... he is part god, basically, has been blessed by Mystra. He's one of Mistra's chosen. Mystra is the goddess of magic. We talked about this in the previous stream. So Elminster is really sort of this shard of god essence that assists him, and he is for two reasons. One is to help with guarding the world and making sure that Faerun, the Forgotten Realms, that it is stable magic-wise, as well as in other ways as well, but primarily the interest of Mystra is around magic. But also he sort of functions as a living anchor of the weave, which is the web of magical power that permeates all things and allows magic to work stably. If it were not this weave, and if the weave were not tied down, then it would all wildly impact the world.
Hero of Neverwinter, will you take up arms against the perils that beset us?
So we're talking to Elminster, and let's see what he tells us is happening.
Your timing is most fortuitous. It just so happens that I could use your assistance. Are you familiar with the...
So are you familiar with the weave? And here we go straight into what I was talking about. This is the Tapestry of Magic itself. Mystra watches over it. Whether a spell intends to heal, harness the elements, or call forth the undead, it pulls from the weave. And I've sensed, Elminster has sensed something tugging at the weave, which is very dangerous, and this particularly seems to be necromantic magic. So there's a person that can help maybe tell us about it, and we want to talk to different people and gather information. So that's our first thing. We can also see that over here there's a board which gives us Lord Alliance decrees. This is also part of this campaign. So we are told to defeat Shadowvar emissaries in the area of Velask. You can see my stream on Velask, pretty cool. It's there with all the werewolves. We can also see here that in an area called the Chasm, which I haven't covered yet, we can defeat plague-changed maws, and that will give us rewards for this. All right, so now let's go follow on our quest, which is to talk to various people, and we'll go to I have different quests selected currently, but if I go to the Protector's Enclave area, we can see they're all marked with different indicators here. The main quests are marked with this kind of emblem here and this emblem here, this guy here. So we can see that we want to talk to Neverwinter citizens for clues, including the Moonstone Mask bartender. And then there are other ones that have this little sort of battle pass insignia, and these will also provide currency towards the main event. We're not going to worry about those because, as I said before, I've already done all of this. And actually, let's go to the Moonstone Mask the old way, as we can here. So the Moonstone Mask is a really neat area. You can see it kind of, if we jump over here, you can see it off there in the distance. It is actually floating in the air, and we're going to take a portal to reach it. So there are some wizards that maintain this and let us travel there. This is a remnant of the Spell Plague, which caused areas of Toril, or the Forgotten Realms, Faerun's sister world called Aber, to swap with it. And so some portions of this world went to that world, some parts of that world went to this world, and some things just got moved around. And so one thing that's neat is you can just really get a nice look. There are pumpkins you can pick up, but I've got a bunch of them. But you can look down upon the city. You can see the Acquisitions Incorporated airship down there, the different layout of the city. It's really kind of a spectacular view. And there you can see that this is the seat of power, which they've recently sort of made bigger. That's supposed to be Castle Never in the back, in addition to the Justice Halls of Justice there. So yeah, it's a neat view here. This big tree that the Druid oversees, and kind of what the coastline looks like, which is pretty neat. But yeah, so the Moonstone Mask is this tavern that is up on this floating earth moat. There are, you can see there's water kind of just coming off the edges magically. That just like there's a river just flowing through it. And we can do a number of things here, but we're going to go inside to the Moonstone Mask. This is also an area where if you have what's called VIP membership to the game, there's an area that's kind of cordoned off that only you can access. But we don't need that for what we're doing here. Just jump over the railing here, and we'll go talk to the bartender.
Welcome to the Moonstone Map. Now that you mention it, I have seen an increase in unfamiliar faces around here.
Okay, so there's some unfamiliar faces. And for all of these, we can also sort of ask about the weave, which is a bit strange because your everyday person doesn't really know about the weave. I think the way the lore is, yeah, they might not even know what weave means. But, you know, each of these people you talk to will somehow have some understanding of it. So, you know, yeah, something about necromancy. Okay, fine. So we can now travel back. It's a neat place. I'll just kind of walk out here because it's kind of fun to see what it looks like. I like the look of the tavern. You can use this as inspiration for tavern. I like the idea of this, the way they decorate it. And there are back rooms over here and rooms underneath that you can travel to. Kind of fun. So we will now exit the Moonstone Mask and go back to Protector's Enclave to talk to other people. Just jump on my mount so I can make this faster. And we'll teleport back. It's kind of a neat view. I like that, the way they do this. So disturbances in the weave are certainly, that's a big deal, right? Like that's there have been in the past a number of attempts to change how the weave works, and they have been like disastrous. So it'll be like the Shadowvar trying to take over the weave, or Lolth and the Drow trying to take over the weave. So really terrible, terrible stuff. So this should be more than just go talk to some citizens, if you ask me about the quests. You know, maybe this guy because he's sort of an important figure. You know, there have been some odd characters in here. Well, that doesn't tell us a whole lot. You know, odd characters looking for books. I mean, welcome to Neverwinter Bookshop, but okay. So I find these parts of the quest a little silly in terms of stories, and I would say that, you know, for those of you who are running D&D games, the tabletop games, I would not have your quests be sort of silly like this, right? Try to make it useful to people. All right, so we're just going to go through these because it's the same thing. It's sort of just random people that you may have talked to on some quests before saying to you, you know, yeah, I don't know, you know, some kind of weird people hanging around, and otherwise everything's fine. So once we talk to everybody, we come here and we talk to Cavatos. Cavatos is sort of an interesting character that came in at one point. I think originally in Storm King's Thunder content for Neverwinter. And I thought he was going to end up being a villain, but interestingly, he's sort of always been this, because he's from the arcane group. So some possibility there that he would be maybe have ulterior motives, but so far he's always been on the side of good. All right, so we talked to Cavatos, and he says Elminster sent you, did he? This must be important then. We don't practice necromancy ourselves, but some of our spells draw from that magic. And some apprentices have reported odd behavior from the weave, you know, which you didn't think to maybe that would matter. And somehow there's the jump of go look at draconic sites, which is a little interesting. So powerful magic is at work. We must find the source. I surmise the increase in suspicious individuals in no mere coincidence. I have noticed increased activity in areas that were once terrorized by dragons. Ooh, okay, kind of a leap. So I wish all these quests had actually been a little more like, hey, there are things happening that are related to dragons. But there you have it. We have our clue, and we now need to go out to find things. And what's been done here is kind of clever by the game, which is something they said they would do. They removed some areas from play, and they said, we will bring them back when there's sort of a reason to do so. And this is a reason to do so for the special event. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to some of the areas that were changed, such as Neverdeath Graveyard. When the Tyranny of Dragons content came out for that adventure, they added sections, and you could face off against dragons, which was really cool, and deal with special quests that involved the Cult of the Dragon. And then they just recently removed that all. Well, now they put a little bit back so that we can do this event. So it's kind of fun. Something goes, something comes back. So we're going to go to the old Neverdeath Graveyard, which was one of my favorite areas in terms of the basic game. And we're going to investigate what has happened, searching for clues near the corpse of the dragon that we fought long ago. So this is Neverdeath is the graveyard where all of the citizens of Neverwinter are interred. It has a very neat starting quest line that is all about the guild of clocks, and there's some really neat lore there and some neat sort of like puzzle type dungeons. Really excellent place. So now in theory the Cult of the Dragon is defeated, and we're coming back here and going, hey, wait a minute, what? There's like dragon people here. That's not right. If you saw my last stream that I did, it was all about the Cult of the Dragon storyline. And so, you know, in that, they were all defeated. And so why is this going on? Who knows? So, you know, we see here, okay, activities taking place. We've got to fight all these guys. If we look at the names of the monsters we're fighting, we'll see the names are slightly different than what they were in the Tyranny of Dragons storyline. And we're not exactly told why. We also get lore that in case we missed the previous opportunities to fight, like Charthaxis, you know, we now get that updated. Green Dragon, feared for noxious breath and uncontrollable temper. And the body disappeared when the Cult of the Dragon retreated from Neverwinter graveyard, from Neverdeath graveyard. And we, of course, we do see a few remnants there. And now what we get, actually I have to go. So what we'll do is, do I defeat these folks here? Why can I not shoot you? We have to go look at one other spot. So we looked at the where the bones were. And now we have to go here. I didn't pull it off in time to defeat these first. So there is a cart here. And if we look at it, we find that there's some diamond regents. What is this? Oh, there's a Drake to defeat here. D&D folks will know that diamonds are usually used to resurrect dead souls. So that is very strange. A whole bunch of diamonds there. But really, if the diamonds are that big, I think we can now retire and we don't have to be an adventurer anymore. But oh well. So we now find these graveyard clues. So, you know, I don't know. One thing about video games, like, really, I'm picking up a random clue on the floor. Like, okay. But we have to pick up 14 clues, literal clue drops. And when we do that, we will be, we will then be in good shape. I want to equip a different power. I have 5 clues. And I'm playing my ranger here. So my ranger is one of the interesting classes in Neverwinter, in that they do a combination of range, and then you can sort of use your tab key to swap over to a different set of powers, which become all melee powers. It's kind of fun. All right, I think I have my 14 clues. That means I'm done here, and I go on to the next spot. Let's go to Ebon Downs. And I'm going to do a stream on Ebon Downs sometime, because this is a neat place. The map is sort of a little bit interesting. I'll bring it up again. So, you know, this is a magnifying glass showing this little tiny spot here, which is Neverwinter. And the city of Neverwinter that has other things around it, like all this stuff in the woods. We've talked about the different Fey and Elven areas. And then it kind of throws some things in random places. Like Ebon Downs is a kind of on the outskirts of Neverwinter, so it probably really should be more like around here. But it's shown way down there. I don't know why. So, you know, that can be strange. But it is it should be in the outskirts, and it's sort of like essentially what we'd call suburbs today. This neighborhood was sort of taken over by necromancers, and also by the forces of Shar, who we talked about when we did the Velos coverage. Looks like I have not done the Ebon Downs on this character, but I'll do that some other time. And so there are tons and tons of undead here, as we can see, just rising out of the lakes, or out of the swamps that have been left here after the spell plague devastation. And that's something that, in case it's not obvious, and anything you see, look at that, just groups of undead moving around. And anything you see that is ruined in this part of the game is generally because of the spell plague, which is a sort of interesting thing. It's not because it's ancient or whatever. It's really that the recent events within the last 100 years of the spell plague magically destroying this area. All right, so now, just like before, we're going to have to come back over here, and we will take out some folks. And it's probably smarter to do this part first. If we take down the drakes and other draconic forces here, then we can look at the reagents, which lets us start gathering clues, because I think the clue quest is based on this. And then we start gathering the clues while we fight these guys off. You can see that they still have sort of neat different powers, like, some of them deal acid. They have these fire acolytes, so there's still sort of very similar approach to how Tyranny Dragons was set up before. Here we have the skull of Varta Lingorix. Gotta love dragon names. And fortunately now the lore doesn't work. I wish they would fix that. But black dragon from the Silver Wisp Swamp. I still need some other clues, so I can take off some of these foes. Ice Right Priest and Poison Acolyte. So you can see they still very much are in this draconic theme. So the idea, I guess, is that these cultists of the dragon, which we thought defeated, lo and behold, here they are. They are active. They've changed in some ways, which is kind of cool. And they're active in these areas that were ancient draconic locations of power. And they seem to be either working to bring back the dragons or somehow use their essence. That's all very interesting. Now we go to Spire Peak. This is another location that I have not yet covered in a stream. It's a starting location in the world. It's a pretty neat looking place, all frost covered. So actually, if we look at the map again a little longer, you can see that it's along this chain of mountains. And I think that's correct. I think that's where it is on the map. I'd have to check the map of the realms. In fact, let me see if... I don't have it here on the Sword Mountains, so I'm not sure if that's where it's located. But yeah, so let's come up here. There's some really neat aspects to this location. Dwarves obviously have been here and built a number of the structures. They were here for the mining of this mountain. There's some quests here that I could do. But I'm going to stay focused on our Echoes of Prophecy campaign. And I will move around these goblins, try to avoid them. And we'll head towards the location where this dragon once came and terrorized. So this whole area, by the way, was very recently, there was just a wall here. And so now they've opened it back up to the content that had once been there, but changing it a bit to make it different. Let's see if I can get away with this. No. Nope. Dragon Soul Fire Breather. That's kind of fun. And then Ambush Drakes, Dragon Wing Archer. It's neat to see how they create these monsters in the game to sort of reflect the lore. And I like the idea of the Cult of the Dragon sort of differentiating itself according to these different dragon areas. You know, I'm focused on green dragons, I'm focused on red dragons or white, right? So I freeze you if I'm focused on white. I light you on fire if I'm focused on red. It's kind of a neat idea. So we'll pick up some more clues, and we'll also look at this, the Skull of Merothrax. White dragon that assisted the Cult of the Dragon by intimidating the dwarves of Spire Peak. It's fun. In the old videos, it would kind of launch itself off of that platform and come to you. So it's kind of neat. we've got almost all our clues. A fire acolyte, tossing me all over the place. While we're battling these guys, I'll say that I'm really impressed with the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons book, which is, I imagine how this came from. They have regular meetings at Wizards of the Coast where they'll say, okay, digital partners, kind of what are you doing in your games? How are you going to, here's what's coming, here are the products that we're going to release. What can we do to have those reflected in your game? And so I'm sure at one point they ended up discussing this. Oh, there's a portal there we can take. And, how do we cover this, super cool book, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons? How do we cover this before it releases or while it releases or shortly after so that people have some link to it? And they must have made that decision like, well, this is a good opportunity to bring back these Cult of the Dragon areas and create a story around that. And I'm interested to see how it develops in the later phases, right? So far we know, okay, somebody's messing with the weave. The Cult of the Dragon is somehow involved. So let's talk to Elminster.
Hero of Neverwinter. What's that you say? You have located
Diamonds are used as a currency, found as part of a hoard. They're also valuable spell reagents. Finding diamonds in such a great quantity can indicate that someone is planning a resurrection spell. Not just any resurrection, something very large and quite powerful. Near slain dragons, that is troubling. Yes, my friend, it is. Then we hear about how the Harpers, which is an organization that watches for imbalances in power, basically. They look for anything that's going to be corrupting the balance of the world. And that could even mean good organizations that are getting too powerful, but it usually is the evil ones that are doing that. So Harpers have noticed a new merchant in Protector's Enclave. Nobody knows who they are, and they seem like they're shady, so please look into them. Okay? Very fair. And then over here, talking to Harper Windle, she tells us that if we do heroic encounters, we'll get some of this prophecy currency, which I don't super need. And then we can do like heroic encounters, and we can do those Lord's Alliance decrees that we saw before. So these are sort of auxiliary ways to earn that currency if you're doing this campaign. And they're not no story real involvement here. Right? You're just doing tasks for them, and they give you currency. So it's other ways to progress the campaign. We're going to stay focused on the main storyline because that's sort of what's most interesting. Redoing quests over and over again is not super fun. All right, so we are told to go to... Where's our quest? Here we go. People of interest. We are told to locate the suspicious merchant. So we'll head over here. I guess I approached it from a different way. So it wants me to go back up the stairs so I can sort of trigger the thing here. We get a little cutscene that shows me coming from that direction, hiding behind this pile, and I get spotted by this merchant who's very suspicious and immediately says I must warn the others. It's very funny, and okay. So there it is. All right. That's we call that getting hit by the clue 2x4, right? The clue by 4, which is a very obvious. Here's where you must go. So all right, we'll go in and pursue the suspicious character. Gee, what could be going on? We'll just come down here and look, it's more cultists. Cult of the Dragon people. So there's a guy that's linked to white that freezes you in place. Always kind of fun. And then the ambush drakes. Dragonwind Berserker is the name of it. Alright, well, I was able to take those out, thank goodness. And Elminster says, Cultists! What? Yeah, I know, it's shocking. Guard drakes. Dragonwing Supplicant. Fortunately, my great heroism has prevailed. Down we go into this basement. One last boss, lightning right priest. Kind of fun. Sends like explosions of lightning at you. So, blue dragon. Yeah, kind of cool. It's like the theme, and I think, that's something cool that if you were, creating a foe, that idea that they are tied into elements like that is always super neat. If you like that, there's a product that I'm slowly but surely working on that one day I'm excited to release. Speaking of that, this past weekend I was at the Gamehole Con, or last weekend, Gamehole Convention. We are fighting a High Priest of Samaster. Samaster, we talked about last time, is the person who started the Cult of the Dragon, so seeing their name is sort of interesting. So yeah, I was at the Gamehole Con convention. It all required vaccination and everything, so I did it. It was very fun to see all my friends. Highly recommend going to Gamehole Con if you're interested in tabletop gaming conventions. I'm suffering a lot of hit point loss. I'll take a potion. One of the things I was able to do was playtest the adventure that my son and I wrote as part of sort of pandemic activities to do while we had downtime. So I'm excited to release that as a Kickstarter in the near future. If you like the tabletop game and want a cool adventure, then stay tuned and I'll be sharing more info about it. All right, so we have done that. We have defeated, we looked, followed the merchant, found that the merchant was in league with this High Priest of Samaster. That's not good. That's right under our own noses in this city of Neverwinter. We can't have that. No good. Now let's go check in with an Elminster. And I'm, this is the kind of thing where I'm always curious, like, okay, is the Neverwinter team just playing with some of these names and showing the history of the game, or is maybe D&D planning to tell us more about how the Cult of the Dragon is changing, maybe changing back to the old ways of being and wanting Dracoliches, or are they continuing to work forward this idea of the Cult of the Dragon switching to living dragons and trying to get Tiamat back into the world? Or is that, what is the next plan that they'll do? So here we get some nice lore. It is as I feared. The Cult of the Dragon has returned. They're a terrible organization of individuals enthralled by my former apprentice, Samaster. Now, Samaster, we talked about last time, became a lich. Samaster was also a chosen of Mystra, but sort of couldn't handle it, and both being evil and because of their maybe instability, they were sort of tortured by it and tried to do terrible deeds with their power. And Samaster became a lich eventually, and then was defeated, twice really, but the second time as a lich. So maybe Samaster is now, the idea is that Samaster is alive. It's quite clear my past will never leave me be. In case you don't remember, please allow me to refresh your memory. My former apprentice Samaster succumbed to delusions of power and godhood, which in time drove him to madness. Founded the Cult of the Dragon on a version of Magla's prophecy that he mistranslated to posit dragons will rule eternal. So it's interesting that Elminster says mistranslated. The new Cult of the Dragon had said mistranslated, in that the idea wasn't to bring back dragons as Dracoliches, but rather to help Tiamat come back. So here we say, it is through this lens they did discover the right of the Dracolich, a spell through which one could transform a living dragon into a Dracolich. And now it seems you stumbled upon a powerful cultist attempting some sort of meta-magic spell. This is outside of the cult's normal abilities and reminds me of the time Severin attempted to bring Tiamat into this plane. So, very cool. My curiosity is very piqued as someone who likes the lore of the game, what this is trying to say. So now we're told to locate Cult of the Dragon hideouts and remove them. And we're given a kind of recurring quests here to do this once a week. But what's interesting is that if we look at this unsavory characters, no, that's here we go. So we look at that quest to root out the cultists. What it actually does is it takes us to another location that's random. It'll be one of a couple of different places in the city. That is actually the exact same quest. So really at this point, we have reached the end of this. The only reason to do this is if you have not completed the campaign, then kind of redoing all these quests and the weekly bonuses and so on helps you get this currency. You can also, if you have more than one character, which I do, you can just do this over and over again on different characters, and eventually you max it out, as I have, and you're done, until they open up the next one. So I believe that they're about to, let's see, are there dates on here? Yeah, April 30, wait, oh, that's the entire thing on April 30th. It doesn't say when Milestone 1 is, but I think it might be ending tomorrow or sometime very soon. So in the next week or so, this will open up into the next phase, and we'll get to see hopefully a new series of quests and solve this question, this puzzle that's very interesting about where, what is going on here with this whole Sandmaster connection, with the Draco Liches versus Live Dragons versus Tiamat, and this meta magic and weave. Cult of Dragon seems to be messing with the weave. That's all we really know for sure. So there you have it. That is the Echoes of Prophecy concept. And yeah, thanks for checking out these videos. You can always support my work. The latest release I have is the rules for collaborative campaign creation, which you see on the right side there. You can get that for free by going to alphastream.org and signing up for my mailing list. The mailing list is a great way to know when I launch that Kickstarter, which won't be too long. I'm seeing versions of the layout. It's really exciting to see the adventure come together. You can also get my past work. Much of it is on the DM's Guild. You can see those over to the left. And you can, if you've missed, if you've seen this, you're seeing the stream on Twitch, you can see on YouTube all of my previous streams. And I will see you next time. Thanks.